The story begins with a girl named Ismir. Ismir always feels lonely and has no friends, so she looks for companionship on social media. Her only companion is her phone, which she is constantly glued to, even using it at school. Her teacher, who had warned her several times before, takes her phone away this time. Ismir becomes upset and tells her teacher that her phone is her only friend. The teacher then calls Ismir's father and asks him to come to the school. Ismir's father, who is an army officer, speaks to her calmly and explains that true friendship is something much greater than what can be found in the virtual world. Ismir tells her father that no one likes her. However, her father reminds her that her family loves her deeply and that she is like a precious gem to them. He emphasizes that she must take care of herself. Ismir appreciates her father's advice, but when she returns home, she quickly reverts to being an isolated girl. She retreats to her room and joins online chat groups, hoping to find someone who will tell her "I love you," as it is her greatest wish. One day, Ismir receives a message from someone that simply says, "Good night." At first, she is annoyed by the message, but after a few days, she starts talking to the sender again. The person introduces himself as John and says that he, too, is lonely and needs someone to talk to. This makes Ismir happy because she has finally found someone who cares about her. The two exchange phone numbers and stay in constant contact. John lives in France, while Ismir is in the city of Ismir, Turkey. Even though they are about 3,391 kilometers apart, the distance does not stop their growing friendship. Ismir feels that John likes her for her personality and words, not her appearance. Because of this, John becomes the center of Ismir's world. One day, John asks Ismir to show him her face. At first, Ismir feels shy and tries to hide the blemishes on her face with makeup and by covering her skin. When she finally shows her face, John tells her she is very beautiful. This makes Ismir like him even more. But when Ismir sees John's face for the first time, she is surprised by how attractive he is. That moment, a woman enters John's conversation, and he quickly ends the call. Ismir feels that John has lied to her. The next morning, after crying all night, Ismir is woken up by her mother's voice. Her mother wants to know what happened, but Ismir becomes upset and insists it's nothing. Her father hugs her to calm her down and takes her to school. On the way, Ismir thinks about John and tells herself that he must be living with someone else and has lied to her. Meanwhile, John has a dream about someone drowning and wakes up in a panic. When Ismir returns home, she receives a message from John. He confesses that his real name is Edge. Ismir is deeply hurt by the lie and tells him she can no longer continue with someone who has deceived her. However, Edge explains that his real life is very complicated and promises that one day he will tell her everything. Ismir decides to give him another chance, and their relationship goes back to normal. She feels happy again, but deep down, she is afraid that one day, Edge might leave her. They coordinate everything they do together. For example, watching movies at the same time in cinemas in their respective cities. Even when it rains, Ismir asks Edge to hold out his hand under the rain so she can imagine they are both standing under the same sky, sharing the same rain. Despite all their love, the physical distance between them begins to trouble Ismir. She fears that this distance will turn their love into pain and suffering. At this point, Edge gives her hope and promises that one day they will meet. This promise keeps Ismir going until one day, at the peak of their happiness, Ismir receives devastating news. Her parents have died in a car accident. The news shocks Ismir to her core. She recalls the love and care of her parents, and her heart is overwhelmed with grief. Edge is heartbroken when he hears the news, but Ismir is so shattered that she doesn't even respond to his messages. Consumed by sorrow, Ismir collapses and is admitted to the hospital. Her uncle suggests that she move to America, but she refuses, unwilling to leave her hometown and the memories of her parents. Eventually, Ismir decides to continue her studies in Istanbul. She goes to the university dorm alone, and for the first time, she feels truly lonely. At the university, she meets a girl named Buse. Buse, who has had a difficult life herself, tries to cheer Ismir up. Ismir shares the story of her love with Edge, and Buse tells her that she should continue her relationship. After a while, Ismir contacts Edge again, and their relationship is rekindled. Edge, noticing a celebration at Ismir's university, encourages her to have some fun. But before going to the party, Ismir asks him why he couldn't be there for her when her parents died. At the party, a boy starts to harass Ismir. Edge calls her at that moment, and when he hears the boy laughing beside Ismir, he becomes upset with jealousy and hangs up the phone. Ismir's friend, Fuse, quickly takes her away from the crowd, but suddenly Ismir feels unwell and collapses on the ground. Ismir quickly takes him to the hospital, where it is revealed that Edge had previously undergone surgery, which caused his physical weakness and bleeding. When Ismir returns to the dorm, she receives a package from Edge. Upon opening it, she finds a blanket with beautiful lighting. Ismir cries out of happiness and sends Edge a message to thank him. Edge is happy to see her joy, but still feels uneasy about the boy who is laughing next to Ismir. He pressures Ismir to tell the boy that she loves someone, but Ismir explains that she doesn't want to upset anyone for no reason. This conversation makes Edge upset, and he angrily hangs up the phone. That night, Edge has a nightmare about someone drowning. The next morning, he calls Ismir in anxiety and confesses that he is a killer. He tells her a heartbreaking story about how he unintentionally killed someone in Turkey and had to flee to France. Ismir is shocked to hear this story, but when she hears the sound of a gunshot, she panics and pleads with Edge not to commit suicide. Edge hangs up the phone and stops answering Ismir's calls. Unable to calm down from the intense worry, Ismir immediately books a plane ticket and flies to Paris. When she arrives at Edge's house, he opens the door, surprised and happy to see her. Ismir, thinking he had hurt himself, bursts into tears and scolds him. Edge reassures her and promises he won't do something like that again. He then shares more details about his life, his family, and the problems that led him to flee to France. Edge decides to take Ismir on a tour around Paris to make their dream of walking under the rain come true. They enjoy being together, but the time for separation comes, as Ismir has to return to university. On the way back, Ismir is involved in a serious accident and is taken to the hospital. When Edge learns about the accident, he arranges for his family to take care of Ismir. Ismir goes to Edge's family's house, where everyone welcomes her except for Edge's brother, Ollie, who doesn't like her. Edge's mother takes Ismir to his room, and she is very happy to be in his favorite place. However, she suddenly notices a photo of Edge with a girl named Fuse, the same girl she had seen at the cafe, and hearing her name surprises Ismir. The next day, Edge wakes Ismir up and tells her that he's ready to go to the farthest place in the world for her. Edge says that he entered the house like a thief so that Ismir would be the first person to see him. When Edge's mother sees him, she is surprised, but his father begins to scold him, as his actions could put the entire family at risk. Even his brother Ollie scolds him, as Edge lives like a prince in France, unaware of the struggles his brother has been enduring. Despite this, Edge sticks to his decision and takes Ismir out for a fun day. Ismir, curious, wants to ask about Fuse and Edge's relationship with her, but Edge takes her to his parents' house to say goodbye to his beautiful memories. Before leaving, he picks up the bouquet his father had sent him, which he had previously ignored. He realizes how much his father loved him, but he hadn't felt that love because his mind had been preoccupied with another love. After bidding farewell to his memories, he says goodbye to Edge as well. Edge, to avoid being caught, sneaks back to France by sea. When he arrives in France, he asks Ismir to go to the cinema with him. But Ismir still can't stop thinking about the photo of Fuse and Edge, so she decides not to go to the cinema and chooses to follow Fuse to uncover the truth behind the story. What Ismir discovers shocks her. When she returns from the cinema, Edge asks her about the movie. She then realizes that Ismir didn't go to the cinema at all. Edge accuses her of meeting someone else, but Ismir gets angry and says she went to meet Fuse, her ex-girlfriend. Ismir tells Edge that she is lonely and needs him. Eventually, as they talk about her past and Fuse, Ismir suddenly collapses due to poisoning. When Ismir is taken to the hospital, she feels hurt by Edge because he hasn't called her once to check on her. Ismir tells him, "You're upset with your father, but you're exactly like him. You just want to control my life." They return to square one. Ismir goes to university and starts thinking about her scholarship. At the same time, Views reappears and makes an agreement with Ollie, Edge's brother, to carry out a plan against Ismir. Finally, it is revealed that Ollie was behind all the problems because he loved Views. However, when Views rejected him, he decided to take revenge on his brother. Ollie becomes enraged when he sees Edge defending Views. He even drowns the boy who had been bothering Views in the pool to frame his brother. Eventually, Ollie confesses to Views that he was behind everything. The police arrest Ollie, and Edge is assured of his innocence. However, Edge decides not to return to his country, as his brother had turned his life into a huge trap. Upon hearing the news, Ismir goes to France to meet Edge. They reunite, and their love overcomes all the obstacles. However, the message of the story to the reader is that relationships that start in the virtual world don't always end this way, and one should be more cautious in relationships in this space. I hope you enjoyed this introduction. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give me your support with likes and comments.